What is going on, everybody? I am back with another Madden 19 video, and today we're going to be talking about the sliders I have created. Now, before we talk about these sliders should be up on EA servers. I'm not sure if it's available for PS4, but I know I've uploaded it to the Xbox One servers. So if you type in the game tag X Miami Native X, it should be on the server, and it's called Test and Test CPU. Do not worry about the name. The sliders are final. I've achieved my goal of what I wanted to get out of the sliders. And so while we're at it, let's get into the sliders and how I tested it. So to begin with, I started off playing 3 6-minute quarter games just to get a feel for the sliders and just to make sure the gameplay was pretty fun and realistic. But 6 minutes wasn't enough. I mean, the games were pretty low scoring. The games would be like 7-3 or maybe 0-7 or even 7-7. It wasn't enough time for both teams to score, and the game would go by fast, but it was a very defensive game. So I then changed to 12-minute quarters to try and replicate real NFL stats. And if you check on my forum or my thread on Operation Sports, I have a link in the blog saying where I got these stats from. They are from Sporting Charts, and they seem to be pretty reliable. I mean, the stats I looked at were pretty accurate, so I went off of their stats, and it was from 2016. It wasn't from this past NFL season, but it's not too huge of a difference where it's like a drastic change. So I basically went with their stats, and I think I finally created real life NFL stats along with fun gameplay. The one thing that was pretty hard to get down right was the run blocking, both for the CPU and the user, because on here you could call a blitz and it could easily stop a run, or you couldn't even call a blitz. Guys would just break off of their blocks and just, it felt like a suction tackle. And so what I ended up doing for the CPU, you might see it here later in the video, well, you should see it later in the video, is that the CPU run blocking is at 80 and the user run blocking is at 90. Now, this is very interchangeable depending on the team that you pick. So let's say if you're playing with a team with a good O-line, you might want to, try it out at first, but then change it if you're just having way over the average or, a huge rushing yards that doesn't seem realistic. I mean, I played with the Dolphins, and they are the second lowest rated team on the game. So I'm going to struggle, but I just didn't feel like the run game was, realistic enough until I bumped up those sliders to 80 and 90. And the last game I played before my trial got cut was against the Cardinals, and the run game seemed to be perfect. David Johnson was really showcasing his talent along with the backup running back they had there. So run blocking felt good there. You shouldn't have no issues with it. Everything else seems to play fine. The teams I played against the Colts, the Titans, the Cardinals, the Bengals, and a couple more teams, but all the teams, they seem to play different, but not so much in the varying ways. It's like they have 3 types of play style. Like a team will run a heavy set, and then if you have a quarterback who's a pocket passer, he's more likely to just make pocket passes and just run the typical NFL offense. While if you have a scrambler at quarterback, the scrambler are more likely to take off, which I like and it's realistic, but I wish they had more variations to it, because the scrambler is just always wanted to take off and just like throw the ball recklessly. And also in these sliders here, you would notice that the interception for the users is pretty low, and for one reason is that because the computer doesn't always make the smart decision. And so if it was at 45 or even 50, you would have probably like 4 or 5 interceptions in the game. So I mean, with the interceptions where they're at now for the user, you're probably looking about 1 or 2 interceptions. It just basically depends on the game and the team you're playing with, and if the quarterback is pretty good. So another thing I wanted to talk about was the penalties. I believe the average for penalties was around 14 penalties a game, and I end up averaging around 8 to 10. I mean, it's very hit or miss. There's not a whole lot of, I didn't even see one pass interference penalty, so that might have to get a boost or a bump playing franchise or playing it online. So I mean, if you guys want to change with the penalties, I know Madden 18 and Madden 19, their penalty system shouldn't be too different, but with the real player motion, it could be. So that's one thing. Auto subs, I'm using Flasco auto subs. They are in the blog I have also with the sliders. They seem to work pretty good in my opinion. With my fatigue being on 70, I like the amount of rotation. I like the rotation of the guys coming in and out the game. You know, everyone gets snaps, and that's what I really like trying to create. Not equal snaps for everybody, but realistic snaps. You want the starters playing the majority, and then you have the backup coming in whenever they're needed. Well, except really the quarterback, who's always in the game, and mainly the offensive line. Everyone else is just really interchangeable if they're tired or not. And here I'm uploading the sliders here, so if you want to just copy the gamer tag down or look at the file name, you can definitely do so here. So I would suggest playing on 15-minute quarters with these sliders. Anything less than that, I don't think would really replicate real life NFL stats that well. The games are pretty low scoring. I mean, 21 points per team, I believe, was the average when I was looking to see how many points a team score in an average NFL game. And we're coming up on some gameplay soon, so just check out the run-in and some of the key things I showcase here, some of the little features. I won't really be talking about it, but just pay attention for it. Yeah, but 15 minutes seems to be perfect because it just gives us the right average scoring here. And yeah, and basically anything less than that was pretty defensive game, not a whole lot of scoring. And I like it, but it really depends on the team you play against. I remember playing against the Cardinals. They're not so good, they're not so highly rated on Madden, and I ended up scoring against them more, while playing against the average team around the 80s or 85s. They put up, it was more of a defensive battle along with the better team. The better team was more of a defensive battle towards the first half, and then towards the end, the better team just took over and just really dominated us, and that's what I really like. I want the ratings to show, and I want the guys to make plays. One thing about these sliders, how you must play house rules, is that on the defensive side, just play as the defensive tackle. I wouldn't switch to anyone else. You want to, how I like to play is that I want my guys, or I want my play calling and my guys to make the right play, and I have trust in them to do that. So I just stick on the defensive tackle. I mean, you still can make plays there, a sack or maybe even a tip pass. Interceptions will come rarely, but that's fine here. Moving on to injuries. Injuries felt good. There were a lot of minor injuries in the game, which I like to see. Nothing too huge, but I know when I first started testing these sliders out, they were like a huge injury at the beginning of the game, and the guy would never come back in. But I don't know, the injury sliders where I have it now is pretty fine in my opinion, and that's really what I really like. So these sliders, they're pretty good, man. I mean, I've played about 7 games with them. I played 15-minute games, and those games will run you about an hour and 20 minutes. So if you're really trying to get a simulation feel while having fun gameplay, these games should take you around an hour and 20 minutes. Now I do plan on playing with the Miami Dolphins in a franchise here, and so it should be interesting on how the season goes. And you must set your expectations to where the team expectations are. If you're a pretty bad team, well, except for the Browns, I think the Browns will do pretty good this season. If you're a pretty bad team, don't expect highly of you guys getting to the Super Bowl. If you're a moderate team, you know, your best shot is the playoff. And if you're an elite team, Super Bowl or bust. That's basically it. And so don't expect like, yeah, you can go with a lower team with these sliders and beat like the New England Patriots. Maybe once in a blue moon if you have a good game plan, but no, not really. One more thing before this video ends, and I know it's coming to an end pretty quickly, is that make adjustments. You know, the computer knows when you're running the ball. They'll send blitz, they'll have guys come down. So just make your adjustments, make hot routes. It doesn't matter. There's no limit on how many hot routes or audibles you have. Just within the accelerated play clock, which is 15 seconds, you want to make sure that you're making the right adjustment. No, just do everything in your will to win the game, because the computer on here is unforgiving. If they just get on a momentum, they're going to take it and they're going to ride it all the way to a victory. So that's basically it. Those were a couple game clips showcasing the game and the highlights. I hope you guys enjoy these sliders, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.